Hello, welcome back to the channel. I just want to say before we start in this video, thank you everyone for subscribing and liking, commenting. It's obviously the channel's picked up much more than I thought, and this is just a hobby, so I'm just hoping these videos help you keep your P38 or Range Rover Classic or Jaguar on the road, or gives you a little bit of inspiration of what's needed. So in this video I'm going to change the front wheel bearing hub assemblies, the CVs, and I've also got a noisy front diff, so I'm going to change that for a second-hand unit. Unfortunately, the ball joints, as I found out in this video, have also gone, so I will need to change those. But the ball joints, I do have a separate video for those, which I will link in the description, which has a full how-to. So let's get started, and thank you very much for watching. So I'm just going to fast forward the dismantle of the brake caliper and carrier and disc, because it is covered in the ball joint video, but it's held on by 2 bolts, the caliper, and then we've got 2 bolts holding the carrier on, and we have a screw holding the disc on. So once we remove those, that will give us access. So the ABS sensor needs to come out. You don't need to remove the brake shield. I'm only doing that because I have new ones to put in, and also I've got to do the ball joints. The rear tracking arm does need to come off because it will be in the way once we remove the diff. So before we go any further, we need to undo this hub nut. And I'm going to undo it later on because I've got an impact. But if you have not got an impact gun that can manage 260 Newton meters or above, you're going to need to follow the manual, which says to put the wheel back on with the hub cap removed in the centre of the alloy wheel, which then you can lower the vehicle back down, get your 32mm socket on and undo that. Don't forget to punch the locking part of the nut out. And when you replace this, the new nuts tend to be sent with 36mm. So the originals are 32, and then depending on what brand of hub you go for or CV joint, they send you a 36mm nut. Unfortunately, the ABS sensor broke into bits, so as I did in the other video, I had to get a chisel underneath. If you get your head around under here, you'll see it where it goes into the selector ring. You have to chisel it off underneath. It's not particularly difficult, and I'll have to buy a new ABS sensor. I did expect it, to be fair, but because these were, well, they look fairly new, I thought they would have come out fairly recently. So while you're here, you also want to check for play. That motion there is just the movement in the CV. Well, it does feel a little bit loose, but we're changing it anyway. And you want to check the ball joints. And I probably re-torqued these because the last owner didn't seem to put anything on properly. Here, look, the CV boot here is held on by a cable tie. Okay, right, so now we've undone all the 4 bolts. It's now time to take out the hub, which will remove the whole lot together. So let's go and do that. Right, let's put this in. There we are. So I'm not worried about damaging the seal because I'm going to change it. That we can. And there's one. Oh, I thought to drain the oil out. Let me get something to collect it. Hang on. Wait there. Oh. Yeah. Should have drained it first. Right, here we are. At least it's got oil in it. some room, and then out we come. And that is one. Oh, drive shaft. What? Seems to have quite a lot of oil in that. Okay, let's get move that out there for a second. Because this is now broken in here, I can't hold the camera because I'm covered in diff oil. We're going to punch the old sensor through. In fact, we're going to get a punch now. And then we need to get rid of the cage it sits in. But I'm going to do that off camera because there's nothing too exciting there. So I'm down stripping this side out. So be careful when you're in here because, oh, see this side's got quite a lot. Oh dear. Which side is that? Yeah, the bottom ball joint's gone. So this one looks fairly new. So I'd say, I'll see if I'm, yeah, it's gone completely. I don't know if you can hear that in the camera. Let me be quiet. Hang on, ready? Yeah, there's loads of play in that. Yeah, it's just had a MOT, hasn't it? Not picked up. That's annoying. So what I think they've done, they've only changed the top one. Now, if you're watching this, don't just change the top one, change them both. Because you've got to take the bloody top one out to change the bottom one, so... that's annoying. Anyway, so that'll have to be ordered. But listen to this. This wheel bearing, I think. Don't know if you can hear that. I think... Oh, that's nasty. Bear in mind, I haven't undone a nut. And it's stiff. I don't think it was the... I don't think it's the diff. I think it's just the wheel bearing. Interestingly, you couldn't feel this play when you were driving. Sorry, when the front prop was removed. So I'm wondering, that's definitely gone. So I'm starting to wonder if the noise was transmitted through the wheel bearing into the diff and then up through the prop shaft. In my mind, I say change the diff as well. That's really annoying. Explains why the diff was leaking. Anyway, crack on with that. Right. So after much swearing and cursing, I've decided I'm still going to change the diff. Now, you don't need a prop shaft tool. I do have one, the removal tool. However, I can't find what I've done with it. So I've got two, was it 9/16 spanners, he says. So I'm just going to loosen these off. Now, these are nylon nuts, so you are meant to replace them every time. Oh, I only just replaced these. It's a bit annoying, but never mind. Or you could put some Loctite on them, I guess. It's up to you. Yeah, there we are. Right. So we're going to go around and undo the bolts now. Before we go any further, I'm just going to clean the threads of the bolts off because they're filthy. Hopefully you can see. I'm hoping the it's a bit dark under here. Ow. So the nuts on the diff around the outside are the same size as the nuts on the prop shaft. So 9/16. So if you've got a prop shaft removal tool, that will fit. If not, you're going to need a 9/16 spanner or socket to get on there. So I'm just going to go around and clean them up, and then they should come out nicely. They are one-time use again. They are nylon nuts, so you either have to replace them or put Loctite on those. That one out, that one out. So that's the last one. That has all of those out. Now I suspect the most heaviest part is trying to get the damn thing out. Oh. I've got to break it away from the sealant. Oh. Let's give it a wiggle so it come out. Oh, it is loose. Oh, I can feel it wiggling. Oh, yeah. I need to make it very thin, I think, to go behind. I think this is too thick. Oh, hang on. No, it's in. No, it's not. That was in. That's it. That's got that one. Okay, fine. That's in there. So I need another one on the other side, basically, I think. That's got you. Okay. The cable doesn't pop off in my face. Yep. Right. Come on. That's it. Right. Let's get strong, shall we? This is going to be heavy. And I'm not really at the right angle. Does that help my bad back? Oh, okay, right. We're off. 1, 2, 3. Oh, bloody hell. Out we come. Oh, it's got a lot of silicone in there, hasn't there? Right, that's going to need a good clean up. Oh, good. Right, there we have it. One diff. Don't really know what I'm looking at in here, but I don't see any obvious teeth broken or anything like that. It all looks in okayish order, doesn't it? So let's just put it up on the side. I don't know if you can get rebuild kits for these or not. I'm just going to spin it round and see if any of the, as I'm spinning it's obviously turning the cogs inside. I was just seeing if there's any chips. I have seen one of the teeth come out in the sump before. Oh, stay there. It looks okay. Anyway, see what you think. It's hard to tell. I don't know where the wear. I'm not sure without checking the manual where the wear points are on these, but she doesn't look too bad, and I think it's been out before because someone's resealed it. Anyway, I've got another one to put back in. Okay, so the very last part of this video is, so I've got the drive shaft out completely. Here's the other one here. Now I've got replacement complete units, so I'm not too fussed about these, but depending on what you're going to change, if you're just going to do the wheel bearing, so you will need to punch the nut out here, which is locking the locking part of this nut, which I'm going to do in a minute. Undo it. So it's easiest to do it on the car if you don't have an impact, but I do have an impact, so I'm going to use that. And then if you're changing the CV, you'll also have to undo that nut because you're going to have to separate it from the drive shaft. So let's break this up. So let's undo I don't know where my hammer's gone, but let's undo this punch. This wheel bearing's knackered as well, as you heard. Okay, that's it. That's just punch, standard size is a 32. And where's my impact? And then I'm going to get the impact on this. It's going to be quite tight. There we are. One nut undone. And then that should, depending on how seized that is, that should slide straight off the CV like so. And that's one wheel bearing, complete with the hub. You can feel it doesn't, you can't hear that, but it doesn't feel very nice, that. So go over there. And then obviously you're left with the CV and the ring, I can't remember what it's called, selector rings for the ABS circuit. So this has been bodged with a cable tie, so I'm just going to pop the cable tie off. Actually, in fact, it's just coming off like so. Now that relieves the CV. So you're wondering what I've done with the drive shaft. The drive shaft, a half shaft, is I have put it, so the manual says to put it between two bits of wood, because we're going to have to knock the CV out because it's held in by a ring, as you'll see. But what I've done, I put it in my vise, I wrapped it in a blanket so it doesn't scratch the half shaft. And then I'm going to get my copper hammer, the good old Thor, and I'm just going to move this out the way. Remember, this is a demonstration unit, so I'm not to care too fast what happens to this. And then you're just going to knock it like that. It's easier when it's straight, but and there off she comes, and that is one CV off. And this is the ring, hopefully you can see that pushes that back onto the splines in there. Actually, you can see this is quite dry in here. And then reversal is when you need to push this back in. I find putting the drive shaft on a block of wood and put the nut on, the old nut, give it a tap with a Thor hammer, and this will go back together. I'll show you all this one. You could do it in the vise, but you do have to be careful that you don't end up bending the can you see that? Yeah, the sleeve that sits on the sill. So if I put this back in here, so I don't really care about this shaft. So if I straighten that up, so I've got the sleeve, it's not actually touching that yet. So you line it up, put the nut on the end, okay, because this is obviously a demonstration, it's going to go straight in the bin, and then you would tap that like so. That's not closed up, and that's gone back into the ring. And then all you do, put your CV on with your new clamps, and then you slide your new wheel bearing back in like so, and obviously do your nut up to the correct torque, and that is all you do. It's pretty simple, nice and straightforward. And if you look at the wheel bearing itself, you'll probably find it's pretty nasty in there. These are quite expensive, so don't chuck them away unless you need to. Okay, let's get on to the diff. Okay, so that's we're going to call that part one. So that's the wheel bearings out, the CV is out, the joints, drive shafts out, and now the diff is out. So part two, we'll put it all back together. I'm not going to cover the ball joints in part two, obviously, because there's already a video on that, but I will put the diff back in. I'll check. Maybe I'll put a new input seal before I do put it back in, actually. Might be a good idea. And obviously I'm going to order a new set of nuts and some new gloves. We need new ABS sensors, and what else do we need? And the CV joints haven't arrived. So hope you enjoyed that video. So like and subscribe if you haven't, and join me for part two where we put it all back together. Yay.